I wanted to cover some more topics, not quite in the depth that we've covered the spark ignition Otto cycle and the diesel cycle. And one of these is the two-stroke cycle. And so I'll do this for a diesel, but it applies to spark ignition engines as well. And very often small engines are two-stroke cycle. So if I look at a PV diagram in how this works, I'm going to have my top dead center, bottom dead center, and PV. And so if I start here, I have the ignition. And so, well, let me draw this and then I'll talk about it. So this is, we're going to look at this, and what happens is these cylinders, rather than have valves, they have ports. So they have holes in the side of the cylinder wall. So in this case, there are no valves, ports in the cylinder wall. So it's basically an opening in the cylinder wall that allows exhaust in or air in. And so, and if I do this, have piston, I'm going to have the exhaust ports, this will be intake, and usually there's a blower here. So usually with the intake there's a scavenger air blower, so it pushes the air in. But if I look at this on the PV diagram, we're going to hear, this is where the exhaust opens. And here we have the exhaust closed. So the exhaust opens, then the piston goes down, and the intake ports open. So then I have the intake opens, and here the intake closes. And so what happens is this, and obviously some of the intake air is being blown out the exhaust, so that's happening. But we don't have any valve mechanism, so what's happening here is I just have ports that open into the exhaust manifold, and this opens into the intake manifold where there's a blower. Sometimes there's under piston scavenging, so when this goes, I have something down here that would create pressure so I can have the air blow in. And so what happens here is, rather than with a four-stroke cycle, with a two-stroke cycle, I have a power stroke every revolution rather than every other revolution. So we have a power stroke every revolution. And with four-stroke, every other revolution. But the power is only about 1.5 times that we would have for a four-stroke. So it's about power is about 1.5 times and basically it's not as efficient. I can't quite achieve the efficiencies that we have with a four-stroke cycle. So we have, anyway, I wanted you to understand this. Two-stroke cycles are used in a lot of small motors and some larger diesels as well. And diesels is what this is an example about. Another type of cycle that I wanted to introduce, and the book talks about it a little bit more, well, maybe not a heck of a lot more than what I'm going to talk about here. It's called the Stirling cycle. And what's interesting about the Stirling cycle is it's an external combustion engine. So I can use external combustion.